welcome back to Auto Dealer News, Game Face Mondays. I am your co-host, Chris Gonzalez, here with Richie Bello, your host. Thank you for having me, Richie. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Chris. You know what? It took a long time to get you as a co-host. You're such a great motivator. And it's amazing to have you here. We're so happy here at the studio that we saw Chris today, and he actually is coming down to be a co-host. We're so impressed with that. And I thank so much, and I appreciate Chris here so much. It's not even, I mean, really, I've been following him for quite some time. I get motivated every time I see this guy. He is one of a kind, and when I mean one of a kind, he's one of a kind. He motivates, he inspires people, he motivates people. You're having a bad day, I always share his stuff. And I've shared his stuff in my Facebook, and a lot of people had told me, Richie, wow, that's great, because he really motivated me today. Because we all have down days, you know? Salesman blues, we always have down days. Well, that's great.
Thank you, Richie. Appreciate that. You know, today is Veterans Day, Rich. And yes. I wanted to acknowledge all of our veterans and our current military for the job they do. They go out there every single day, put their job and their lives on the line for us, for our very freedom. And I just wanted to, I think today is a great day for America. It's a great day for us. And without them, we wouldn't be where we are. So thank you, Richie. Thank you, our veterans. Thank you, our military.
And you know what, Chris, I'm so glad you said that, because for the last 4 years, I've been working on getting funded for veterans to train them. And we've already done that. And we're ready to do now the videos. I got Brandon coming out. I got John Fairchild and a few of other trainers. And really, these guys have really helped me out. And the automotive vendors like Cars Direct, True, etc., the list goes on. They've given me opportunity where I give them customers, and what they do is they share and they donate to my institute. And now I have enough money to train 30 veterans a month.
Wow. And
put them in the workplace until I get the grant. It's going to take me 2 years to get the grant. And we have an institute out in Arizona, a building and everything. We did it right. We partner up with Look Smart, and we did it right. We have two nonprofits. One is Richie Bello Institute, and the other one is Clickable Institute. And what Clickable does, after the veteran is on and has training, we have access to funding, because what we want to make is job creators, not just people to get jobs. We want them to move up the ladder. And the beautiful thing about veterans is they're used to moving up in the ladder because of their rankings.
Yeah. And I think, you know, the one thing our veterans, right, and our military have in common is they're very process-oriented, and yes. It's the foundation of everything. I mean, you know, when our military doesn't follow protocol or process,
we got problems.
Their lives at stake, you know, their own lives, it's just... So no better time to really speak about the foundation of what our dealerships and our businesses should really focus on. There's a lot of takeaway when you start to think about the military, things you can gather from them. So no better way to start our show but than to have David Castillo, our director of training, and he's here to automotive industry and under constant reputation and scrutiny. You know, no better person than to have on our show but David Castillo to talk about some of the things he's doing to avoid, for us, to avoid dealership turnover. You know, it's at about 70%, which is extremely high. The only way to keep our staff engaged is to offer training, and that's one of the things that we focus on when we talk on Auto Dealer News, is how do we bring you best practices out there? How do we focus your staff and your management to keep them in tune with what's changing? You know, and we know our business is changing like every other. Right. It's becoming more focused on the now, transparency. So we have David Castillo with us today to kind of touch base. And how are you, David?
I'm doing great. Happy Veterans Day to everybody. And to any guys that may be out there, happy.
So David, you're breaking up a little bit. So could you bring up David's volume up here at the studio? But David, anyway, what I wanted to tell you is happy Veterans Day to you. And you know, when you take that number of 70, right, and you look, if you would take that number of 70 and you would take the auto groups like Penske Automotive that has an in-house trainer, Jim Ellis Group that has an in-house trainer, Asbury that has an in-house trainer, Sonic that have in-house, that number drops drastic. If you take them out of the equation, that number actually is higher.
Skyrocket.
Okay, it's actually higher. We're looking at 85% to 90%. I was on the phone with a dealership 2 months ago, hired 30 people through Indeed, kept one. Do you have any training? Do you have any training in? No, I have no training set up. You know, this, that, maybe I should hire a trainer. I said, oh, that would be a great idea, Mr. Dealer. That dealership is not in the state. He's in a state that they do a lot of training, and he's just not done it. Now, you imagine 30 applications. By the way, that's happening in a lot of different industries. I'm in the catering industry very heavy, as much as the automotive industry. When you start looking for cooks, chefs, executive chefs, dishwashers, and all that, 60 people show up, and one stays within you for the first 2 days. That's how bad it is. So it happens in every industry. Digital marketing, my friends out at Traffic and Conversion Summit tells me it's crazy. They can't keep anybody. So this is a overall problem in the business world. And why is that? We're staffing the people at the wrong time, right? In sales, if you're staffing something, if your traffic is low and you got a full showroom, you mess people's heads up. So we're not using the technology we have today. You got call capture. You should be using that technology to staff your department. You also have floor traffic, and know when the appointments are there the most, you should staff your department. Put enough people where everybody is to make a living, instead of just out of the seat of your pants not having that whole infrastructure in a dealership. I mean, years ago that was okay. You know, when I started in the business, that was okay, you know, because we didn't know any better, you know, so we just, oh, that's a customer, I'm a salesman, he's in the showroom, guess what, he's buying a car. Okay, great. We had no structure, we had no process. But today, with all this massive technology there is through your CRM, through each day is stamped. You have all these analytics, your website traffic, everything. Listen, managed by metrics, okay? That's all I gotta say. And a lot of these dealerships don't even use their metrics to manage.
Richie, look at a simple metric like going to a restaurant or visiting a location, how Google shows peak times when they're busy and stuff.
Correct.
You know, a lot of businesses today are taking a more reactive approach to their business, meaning, you know, there's heights of the season. There are times where we're busier than less. So what do? Just before that season begins, we ramp up our staff, and as the business goes down, we wind up cutting, you know, and it really contributes to the turnover. Instead of taking a more proactive approach to staffing the right people, making sure you're watching metrics, knowing when you're busy, knowing when you're not, and having sufficient eyes on what you want to accomplish throughout your day and month and year, you know, it goes back to planning, you know, and that's one of the big things that most businesses today are missing. You fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you're going to staff up when you're busy and drop personnel when you're not, you're going to have a problem with stability. You're going to have a problem with reputation. You're going to have a problem with profit. You know, how long does it take to train someone in a busy season versus if you just gave them consistent training throughout the year? You know, what's the downside?
Correct.
Of being.
And you know what? Now it's the holidays, so now everybody's like, oh, what do I do? Listen to me. Managed by metrics. And also with Clickable, the one thing that we learned, because we're a business dashboard, right? We manage by metrics and market by metrics, okay? Nobody does that. Nobody manages or markets. Nobody. They don't look at their history and then say, all right, let me do this. It's called the logic before the plan. I mean, Synergy's got a great product with that. She's the one that came up with this logic before the plan, but that's just the way that we've always managed, me, especially in the car business. I didn't have to be in a dealership to know who's giving me productivity. All I had to do was look at the financial statement, and the daily operating control, the doc. I had the doc every morning right on my desk, okay? And that's all I looked at. I didn't care about whether I knew how to manage it with no technology, just by my financial statements and the doc and my up sheets. And my open RO report, I used to run it every day, so I knew how to staff everybody. And I used to run it back from a year ago. What was it? It's all about comparison, right? Now, with the vets, the beautiful thing about the vets is they follow direction. And let me tell you when I found that out. At a very young age, I was in the car business, may his soul be rest in peace. His name was William Rawcliffe. He was an ex-Marine, okay? This guy was a service guy and moved himself up to salesperson and manager, okay? This guy was amazing. You know what amazing was? He followed direction. You told him, go and say this. He went and said that. He would demo everybody. All that made it into really big. Actually, he worked out in Florida for Delray Beach Toyota as a manager, and he also worked for Mr. John Rosati's dealership out in Florida back in the day in the late 90s, and he worked for Rick Case. He was amazing. That's when I knew that vets were really special. And then I got into it at a very young age when I was in dealerships and I observed everybody. Wow, they had some training, because I was always looking at to how I could be better and better and better. So I would do it by observation. As everybody knows, I'm very dyslexic. So how I learn is by listening, observing, and doing, right? So the vets are unbelievable. When I started going to Phoenix, right, with my partner Dominic, I engaged a lot with vets because that's where the institute is, and they all follow direction. Dominic used to tell them, could you go out there and do this? They would do exactly that and come back with a report. And they would use the terminology, let me debrief you. Okay, that's very big for them. I said, oh, let me debrief you. Oh, okay. So you imagine them talking to a customer, going into the desk and actually telling word by
Debriefing
word.
the manager, telling them what to expect.
I says, oh, and what did you got? Oh, we had to do that. Every time we had to do something, we had to debrief our superiors. Oh, really? So here I am learning and learning more because I got so involved with their debriefing process. Now, I want dealers to listen to this good. We got guys out there that could take a customer based on the training we're going to provide them, and then they're going to debrief your manager A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. You know how important that is to put a deal together? Listening to them is key because they take all the information in their head and they know how to deliver it. Now you can load the lips. Now you can help them close more deals. A very important type of people. It's amazing the training the military has had. And guess what? When they're in the classroom getting trained, they are going to be professional because that's what they're used to. The problem is when they come back and they go to the workplace, there's no training, there's no nothing. So that's why they go from job to job to job to job, because they're not used to it. Our industry has that infrastructure the same way as the military. So that's very important. What are your thoughts on that, David?
Well, the training for any I want to teach them the basic aspect of them. And like you said, the military is very process oriented. It doesn't matter what your job was in the military. You follow a certain process step by step. If you're a mechanic, you have A, B, C, D to complete to fix this gear. If you're an infantryman, you have to follow certain orders to set up posts, to set up security, to set up everything else. It's all a process. Once a veteran gets out of the military, we have to adjust quite a bit in order to be able to, go back into civilization, if you will. And by us having this process, this training, all these procedures in place, it makes it a very easy transition for them to be successful out of the civilian world. And just because we are motivated, we want to get the job done right, we're going to be fantastic for the automotive industry. And of course, like we were talking about, all the turnover, those numbers will start dropping, and you're going to have a much better candidate, a much better employee overall.
That's great. You know, and I'm so glad you brought that up because that's so important. You know, David, what you said, they're very process-driven people, and they know protocol, and they're used to getting trained all the time. So we're going to be making these vets not only for the car industry. Once they get in there, they're going to be great trainers. They're going to be great in every aspect in the automotive industry, you know, because one of the things that motivates a vet is ranking, right? You go in and you want to get a better ranking. You always want to be better than
you want to move up. You want to move up.
And the car business, I mean, Chris will say that. Chris,
so
what
much
do you
opportunity.
Think? Oh,
so much opportunity.
There's so much.
You know, I used to have this conversation with a lot of people. If you know something, right? If you can teach it, do you know it? You follow a process, you learn a process, you do it yourself, and now you start teaching others to do the same thing. Do you know it? 100%. And it just breeds a much better person moving forward. I mean, and that's really, I believe, what the industry is lacking. It's who are people learning from? What are they learning? What sort of consistent processes are they following? Do they even have a process? Right? And that's ultimately what they give down to their people who work for them. So if you can get those simple things, and what better veterans, their discipline, their focus, they want to move up in rank, right? They have the foundation, they have all the tools. Get them in your dealership and see what happens. But you got to acclimate them to an environment that is similar to what they're used to. Structure, process, right? And just make it an environment that they want to continue to be a part of, and you'll reduce turnover, and you'll get better, more quality people inside the dealership.
Absolutely. Yeah, this morning I had a Veterans Day parade that I went to, and just like you said, people teaching the next generation.
Yep.
There was a retired colonel there that shared a story about when he first enlisted. He wasn't the most motivated person when he joined in, but all the veterans that have been in previous conflicts, previous combat, they wouldn't take anything less than perfection as acceptable. So drilling that into the next generation, then they would just pass it on and on and on. And that's why we're so successful.
Absolutely. We appreciate that. We're going to take a little break and watch before we go, we're going to watch a clip from our sponsor, Michael C. Lewis, publisher for The Visionaries. All right?
Real estate investor, developer, and startup expert turned book publisher and best-selling author. Mike has personally mentored and worked with some of the sharpest entrepreneurs in the world, like Brian Tracy, Michael Gerber, Tom Hopkins, Lou Brown, Tim Johnson, Tom Beal, Jason Myers, Mike Philissane, Bill Walsh, and countless others. He's taken his own companies from zero to over $100 million in sales, made as much as $1 million in one day. As the publisher at the world's top ghost publishing firm, branded Expert Publishing, Mike has created and published over 370 best-selling authors and published over a dozen of his own best-selling books. Mike's passion for turning the real-world experiences of successful entrepreneurs, CEOs, and seasoned business experts like you into best-selling books that will positively impact your lives. Please welcome Mike Lewis, the book guy.
Welcome back to Game Face Mondays, and today's Game Face product is American Guardian Warranty. Our guest and my friend Michael Haas, Assistant Vice President. Michael is also a United States veteran. He served over 14 years. Mike was a security police and combat med during Operation Desert Storm, Desert Field, Liberation of Kuwait, and Iraq Freedom. I mean, thank you. Thank you, Mike Haas.
Richie, Chris, thank you for having me on.
Thank you so
Happy
much.
Happy birthday, everybody. I'm honored to have been able to serve my country and fight for the things that are important in the United States.
Thank you.
You know, Mike, I wanted to bring you to the show because I knew that at one time you wanted to come. And I said, you know what, I got some room, and Chris knows you, you know, so that automatically, I mean, you're welcome all the time here. But you know what, I'm going to say something with you. Your warranty, I read up on, and I think it's a really, really good product. What is the difference between that warranty and all these other warranties? There's so many warranty companies out there, but I see that you guys are really optimized. You got a great website. And what are your thoughts versed on that?
So that's a great question, Richie. And I think that some of the things that a lot of our clients like about American is, we're a big company, but we have a boutique feel. We're vertically integrated so that, a dealership can work with one company that provides them everything that they need. So it's much easier for them to get their arms around everything that their F&I department needs, from the menu service to the product to the training and development, the compliance. So I think those are just a couple of the things that dealers really appreciate about working with American Guardian.
Okay, and do you have any programs for CPO? I know it's hard to compete against the factory, but there's a lot of independent lots that are now saying ABC certified program. I mean, I have plenty of those guys out here in Long Island. I have a pre-owned used car dealer and don't really have a good program. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so that's another great question. American Guardian really has built its business working with not only the franchise dealer, but many independent dealers, along with RV and motorsport. So we do have a very robust certified program where a dealer can select, a number of programs, either a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty that has the ability to be wrapped upon, to give the customer a more comprehensive coverage. And then we can take that out to a 10-200 or lifetime engine. So we have various programs that dealers can use to market. But I think one of the things that sets us apart from our competition in those respects is that, these are all just the widget, right? It's really the way that we provide the information, support the dealer, launch the program, and then provide continued support going forward to make sure that they maximize, right? Because the program is only as good as the dealer executes the program. So, Chris and I have spoken about this type of program on several occasions, where it's not just the product. We have to go in and train the salespeople why the dealership wants to market this way, train the receptionist, train the service department, train the IT department to properly upload the vehicles with a backdrop that indicates that the reason you want to buy here is because our vehicles come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain that is going to protect your investment. Setting them apart from the competition. And in this environment, right, it's very, very competitive. So every dealer, whether it's a franchise or an independent dealer, is looking for that edge to be different, to get out.
Absolutely. Mike, so I want to touch on one thing. We've spoken in the past about your warranty program, your service drive warranty program. And I think that it's probably the area where there is the most opportunity, in the sense that you have people going into our service departments every single day, and here's the equation, right? 100% of the people buy in that service drive. But if they were able to buy under their warranty, they would most likely spend more, right? Or that writer would be able to charge more. And I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room later, but I want you to explain that program a little bit more to our viewers.
Sure, absolutely. Great question, Chris. So, there's a very big difference between what we know we should do and what we actually do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean,
absolutely.
I visit, upwards of 70 to 100 dealers a month, and every F&I person that I see, they all say that they're going to go to the service drive. They all say that they're going to try to sell some vehicle service contracts to the service customers. And at the end of the month, the reality is, if we get one or two, that's a blessing.
Definition of insanity. Definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing, expecting a different results. Surprise! Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So what we have done at American Guardian is we got a bunch of car guys together who said, hey, how do we help dealers make more money, right? Because that's really, how do we increase the bottom line? That's what we're all about. So we got some guys together. We built an app, okay, a service drive app that is completely self-contained. So when the customer comes into the service drive, whether it is the person checking the car or the service advisor, they are simply going to scan the VIN number and type in the miles, and they instantly have a quote. From that point, the customer can simply review the quote, say yes or no. They have a 0% financing option. Everything is done through the application. So they do not need to go visit F&I. They don't need to rate the car. They don't need to classify the car. It's all done at the click of a button. You can scan, quote, have the customer review in less than 30 seconds. From there, if the customer decides that they'd like to make a buying decision, they can either pay cash or they can put a minimal down payment, have a contract in their inbox in 30 seconds, and be on their way with a vehicle service contract that's going to protect their vehicle for up to 36 months and 75,000 miles from the point of sale, preventing them from incurring any, large charges in the future. And when we talk to dealers and clients and do training on vehicle service contracts, people go, well, why do I need this thing? Right? And I simply put it this way. We don't fix cars anymore. 15 years ago, you could hire a mechanic, they'd pop the hood, they'd make some adjustments, and off you went, your car was running better. Nowadays, when you go to a service department, they yank out a module, little computer like your cell phone, they plug in a new module. So vehicle service contracts in 2020 are what I call module replacement programs. They are designed for you to simply replace these little computers that now run your vehicle. So the reason that you need it is because no one can fix these modules. They have to be discarded and replaced.
And I'm glad you brought that up about the app. So I'm pretty sure you have this data. Customers that get sold a car to, whether it's used cars or new cars, your penetration percentage-wise, right? And then versus when they go into the service department, what is that penetration based on the app? So that process you guys have is a pretty good process. I didn't know about that. I'm just learning right now, but that can bring you up to 100%.
Yes. So what we have is, let's just take some round numbers. Let's say a service drive is doing 1,000 customer paid ROs in a month. 350 of those customers will be eligible for a vehicle service contract, meaning the OEM coverage is expiring, they're not under certification, they didn't buy elsewhere. So of that, 350 of those customers are going to be in a position where they need a vehicle service contract. Through the app, conservatively speaking, we are closing at 10% by just simply scanning the VIN number, putting in the miles, and putting it in front of the customer to say, your car is eligible. This is what you would need as a down payment. This is what you would need to pay monthly for up to 24 months.
So Mike, out of the 350 qualifying repair orders that come through that service drive, closing at 10% with 35 extra service contracts, right? These are contracts that can drive additional revenue into that drive. But just out of simple math, how many of those contracts would you say, or clients, could immediately use that service contract on their next visit, or perhaps that visit?
So they wouldn't be able to use it right away. There is a 30-day and 1,000 miles of driving waiting period. Now, but the upside to that is there's no inspection required. It's sign and go.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So you could have an in-transit customer that shows up, has no vehicle service contract, and the sales presentation would simply be this, Chris. Hey, Mrs. Jones, we've got your car fixed. You're eligible for vehicle service contract, and in the future, you'll simply have a $100 deductible instead of a $368 repair today. And most customers are very amenable to that, knowing going forward, they're not going to have to encounter this, because basically, what is a sale, right? A problem, solution, benefit, and a validation. So if they're there because they had a mechanical failure, you got the best problem you can possibly have.
So
you're providing them.
Question, Mike. So how much does it cost the dealer to have you come in and train their staff and sell these 35 additional service contracts?
So the program is self-contained and pays for itself through the sale of the vehicle service contracts.
So there's zero outlay. So a dealer can sign up with you. It costs them nothing.
It's plug and play. We would come in, we would teach the service department how to download a complimentary app to or a company iPad. We would teach them how to use it. And then the second part of this, which is very unique, is that if for some reason the service advisor is too busy, doesn't have a good relationship with the client, and they fail to show the customer the quote, we have a program now where the business development department at the dealership can reach out to the customer, say, you were provided a quote. Did you want some additional information? Did you have some additional questions? And through the business development department or the American Guardian Pursuit program, we're closing at an additional 5%.
So why isn't everyone on this program?
Because I haven't been to all the dealers yet. But I'm working on that.
It's insane.
So here's where the rubber meets the road, though, for the dealer, right? This is, everybody wants to know what's in it for me. So let me tell them what's in it for you. Self-contained program. The gross margin in the program for the dealer is $600 gross per vehicle service contract sale. Okay. And then we through our program, if the customer is doing financing, and this is the concern that most dealers have, they are paid in full within 5 business days of the completion of the sale, which is done right through the app. Now, if the customer says, well, this is great, guys, but I need to talk to my spouse, not a problem. There's a place right in the app where you can plug the spouse's email in. They get an instant quote sent to their email along with a video, a brochure, and a review of the contract. And then once they get home and review and discuss, they can complete the transaction from home without even having to come back to the dealership.
So, Mike, you're telling me $21,000 a month, $252,000 a year just for the sale of the service contract, not counting the additional revenue that could be generated off of claims, right? Future claims, driving traffic back to their service department. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
You're absolutely correct, Chris. And here's a couple more things. Our program, Service Drive, has what's called a 40-mile tieback. So meaning any customer who purchases through that dealer's service drive by contract
to the store,
we'll be driving them back to the store. Because when do we want that upset or dissatisfied customer the most, right? We want them in our service department waiting room, walking around in our showroom when, some ambitious salesperson is going to say, hey, do you want to take a test drive while your car's being repaired? We want them to be in your store. So, having that tie back is crucial. And not only that, think about it we could take it one step further. If a dealer is in any type of reinsurance program or retro insurance program, think about the impact of an additional 35 to 40 contracts per month. And in some cases, that's more production than the F&I department's producing.
Right. So question, are you saying that you're able to sell, this product would work with their existing service contract?
That is correct. If we would just simply need to draft a new trust agreement and we could seed that production right into their existing insurance company. The only stipulation to that is if they're operating in a DOWC formation, they will have some challenges with putting an insured product into a DOWC structure.
Gotcha. So that eliminates the issue with dealers not wanting to sell anything other than what they have from the reinsurance standpoint. But I mean, once again, you do the simple math. If based on 1,000 repair orders, and I think most of the dealers in our area are probably in the upwards of 2,000 per month, right? So that puts a number at 700 qualifying contracts. 70, right? It just doubled that number to 42,000, which is $500,000 a year. What could you do with that money, Mike?
Whew, I'm telling you, the opportunity is endless, right?
Yeah, I mean, for you dealers out there that are listening to this, a home run, and I think the biggest takeaway has to be stop focusing on what you potentially might lose by allowing someone else to come in and train your staff and use this type of product, and focus on what could be generated in turn, meaning the upfront profit, but the long-term profit is what you're driving back into your service drive. So it's about time to wrap up on our Veterans Day show today. Our special guest, thank you very much, Mike Haas, for being here. David Castillo, we appreciate everything you do. Richie Bello, I absolutely appreciate you.
No,
you are one of a kind.
I appreciate you. You're
right?
one of a kind.
And, you know, this was my first time co-hosting this show, so you didn't get the full effect of Chris Gonzalez, but moving forward, I can assure you, having guys like Mike Haas on the show, offering what he's offering for you as a client, you got to give him a shot. Have them come in. The worst thing that could happen is you make some extra money, you make your customers happy, and if you want to take it in-house on your own one day, by all means, but the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result. I think we could all use the additional revenue.
I got to tell you something, Mike. That's one of the most aggressive warranty programs that I've seen, and I've been around a little bit. I haven't seen a warranty program like that. There's a lot of companies that have these warranty programs. I was aware of it. Paul Meyer told me about it, but I was not aware about it to the detail. That's why he said to me about this warranty. It's a very aggressive warranty program with an app today. And you know what? The audience between 25 and 45 years old are the ones that are continuously buying cars. Okay, and that audience is very friendly with apps, so they'll understand if your service department uses your process with the VIN number, that will sell itself. You should get more. The problem is that maybe a lot of guys don't go through the trouble of scanning it. That's what you need to do, because that process you guys has was super ingenious to come up with. Because if you look at IHS registrations, the people that continuously buy a car every year and a half or two is from that age 25 to 40. Well, what happens after that is they trade it and trade and they start getting upside down, and then they become a subprime customer. Okay, because they get too much in it. They don't have the experience, right? So that's what happens. But that is ingenious what you guys came up with. That's a
Richie,
machine.
this thing is so robust. Chris could be at a barbecue on a weekend and the customer says, hey, I know you work at a dealer. Can I get a vehicle service contract for my car? He could literally walk out front, scan the car, put the VIN number in, and give them a quote on the spot.
Absolutely.
And the customer literally scan the credit card and complete the transaction in less than 5 minutes on demand. And you know, the thing that I say for dealers, you're not doing this. You are not successfully capturing vehicle service contract sales from your service drive. This is a solution. It's found money with only upside potential.
And the other thing about this is dealers, you're right, he's going to make a lot more money in your service department. But listen to this. How do you really make money? By retaining, right? This is a retention machine, because the more customers that you have on his program are going to come back to you, because now that's your retention. So when you follow the opportunity versus the bottom line, your bottom line is going to go on steroids. On steroids, your retention, you guys have built something for the retention value, and your retention is going to go crazy. At 35 customers a month times 12, you're looking at a lot of customers that are going to come back like a boomerang. It's amazing.
Well, anything else you'd like to say, Mike, before we head out?
American Guardian just tries to be an innovative company that is always helping dealers to make more money. That's what we're all about.
We appreciate you. And we'll be back next Monday. Once again, Auto Dealer News, Game Face Mondays. Remember to keep your game face on. And thank you, Richie. You guys be great.
You're the best. Watch the video, the promo video for holiday parties, and don't forget about my holiday party coming up to the Beach Club. Check the video out. Dealers, if you haven't gone out there yet, book it at Windows on the Lake. And make sure you called over there, ask for Mike or Frank, and tell them that I sent you. And you'll get a discount like you've never seen. And if you don't get a discount, trust me, I'll go over there and get you one. So go ahead.